Hey guys, welcome back to Just a Geek in the Garage. Today I want to talk about vessel screwdrivers and kind of in general tools made, in Japan, in Germany, things like that. I don't know if you're anything like me, but I grew up with Craftsman USA. It was kind of my main go-to for anything I could get my hands on, and I still have quite a few of the Craftsman USA products. And luckily, almost none of them have broken on me. And obviously, I don't want to replace them if they do, just because I'm not going to get the same quality that I had before. But ever since Craftsman kind of went away from USA manufacturing, you still have a few tools manufactured here in the US, but usually you're going to pay a premium for them. I do like my Snap-on. Back when I was a professional, Snap-on was my go-to for a handful of tools that I knew I was going to use all the time. Like this was kind of my main ratcheting screwdriver here. This kind of 5-position one that I would use day in day out all day long, and it's lasted me about 25 years still working like the day I bought it. But a couple of years ago when I started really looking at YouTube tool reviews, things like that, Vessel kept coming up constantly. A few companies. Vessel from Japan, we had Vera from Germany, and Knipex, things like that. So I kind of started my journey down the I guess foreign made tools, but the higher quality ones, not ones made necessarily in China, Thailand, things like that. So I started with this guy right here. This is just a kind of simple ratcheting screwdriver, but the mechanism on this thing, when I bought this, was really impressed me. It's very, very fine tooth. I've put some torque on this. I haven't had it skip or anything like that. It's reversible, has a neutral position, has this cap that comes off. Comes with two different versions of the cap. There's a green and a red one, and it has different configurations of bits in each one. This is not the configuration it came in, but I kind of rearranged them to put my most used ones in the green guy. So it's going to be all of the Allens, Phillips, and slotted in here, along with the number 2 just kind of sitting there. And obviously it fits any number 2, any 1/4 inch type bit, and it's magnetic. So I did do a video kind of comparing all of my ratcheting screwdrivers, and these two kind of came out on top. This is kind of my everyday for something that doesn't require a ton of torque. This, if it's going to be something more of a heavy duty project, just because with that angled handle I can do give it a little bit more torque than I can with something like this. And because this one is such fine tooth, every once in a while you kind of worry, because the teeth are going to be smaller, is it going to be just as strong as something with a smaller tooth count, almost like the Snap-on ratchets that just came out that were 100 tooth that seem to not be doing as well as their old dual 80s. Anyway, so bought this guy. This thing was about I think $22, $23 at the time. I just checked Amazon. I didn't see it on there. Right now they're sold out, but you can always check things like Amazon Japan. A handful of these tools I actually bought directly from Amazon Japan. It does take a little bit longer to get it, but if you're a Prime member, usually it's still free shipping. So I started there, and I was so impressed with that guy that I decided to give their electric screwdriver a shot. Just lithium ion. This one was kind of their upgraded one at the time. I think this was again about 2 years ago or so, and I wanted kind of just a small one of these to use just around the house, and I don't want to use a ratcheting or the project isn't big enough to take out an impact or a drill. Just something I can kind of walk around and do something with. So I decided on this guy. Before this one came out, they had 3 different versions, I believe, of this, where there were different speeds, different torque measurements, things like that, or maximum torque. Where when this one came out, it's actually going to be 3 speed and 3 different torque settings. So this is one I ordered directly from Amazon Japan at the time. However, I think it's available now just on Amazon USA for around $44. It comes kind of in this configuration that you see. It's the ball grip. It's the first thing I got that had that ball grip on there, and I really did like it. When you hold it, obviously I'm not putting a lot of torque on the actual grip itself because the mechanism is doing all the work. But I definitely like this configuration so much that I decided to kind of continue buying Vessel products. The one thing I didn't realize when I bought Japanese tools, because this one just used the regular 1/4 inch bits, is that the bits over there, and I don't know if this is just a Japanese standard or an overseas standard, but you can see the bit there looks quite a bit different on the bottom than something here that you would buy in the US, and it's going to be mostly this kind of top part. So the problem was I got this number 2 bit, but when I went to go put in just like an extension so I can use other bits, it was just doesn't fit in there. I mean, I could use it, but it just doesn't feel like it's a quality tool. I know there was a couple different ways to fix this thing. I was going to 3D print something at the time, but I decided to kind of go the lazy way, and it worked, and I haven't fixed it since. Is I found this little piece of plastic that was the right diameter. I believe this is actually from a drywall anchor, if I'm not mistaken, and I was able to just kind of put it in there, and then now once it's in there, I can go ahead and put this in, and there's very, very little wiggle room, about the same amount of wiggle room you would normally expect. And now I have this guy that has, interchangeable bits. So that's a little hack if you guys, have this or want to buy this and are frustrated by these types of bits. I mean, they work great, and I think Vessel, and I hope maybe in their next iteration of this, have kind of fixed that issue with some of their newer screwdrivers that have come out, where they'll accept any kind of 1/4 inch bit, no matter where this notch is, and hold it in pretty tightly. So from there, I kind of ventured off and went to their regular screwdrivers. This I saw on a channel called Price Customs. I love those guys over there. They do a great job, especially with the giveaways that they do for the students and just in general. So if you guys haven't watched them, I'll give them a shout out in the description. Go take a look at their channel. Again, they do a great job over there. So they kind of showed me this set right here. It was around $30 at the time, and I picked them up. Actually, it's a great little set. It's quite different than anything I've used screwdriver wise, because it has it's 8-sided versus like 4 or 3-sided, like say the Instinct Grip from Snap-on, but they actually work really, really well. They seem very, very strong. The grip is just grippy enough, but it does definitely seem like if you have if you get them dirty, you'd be able to wipe them off, and if you have grease on your hands, they're not going to slip. So for around $30, I think they're on sale for about $26 right now on Amazon. I think they're a good purchase. For me, fortunately or unfortunately, I have a ton of different screwdriver sets that I usually grab before this guy, so it kind of sits collecting dust. But again, for about $26 to $30, especially if it's your first set of kind of real screwdrivers, if you're using it professionally, things like that, it's a great set. One thing to keep in mind, however, this is the only thing that I'm aware of that I have in front of me that is not made in Japan. It's actually made in Thailand. But for $26 for an AP set with these kind of interesting stubbies that they come with, which I kind of like, just that little, that almost like wheel, like a ratchet wheel design, even though it's a fixed shank. Definitely something I would check out. So from there, I went on to a different ratcheting style. And, because I like this guy so much, I was like, let me look into their ball grip ratcheting to see if they have, a similar mechanism. So I ended up finding this guy, because they do sell a lot of these where it's just a fixed shank, it's a number 2, it's a slotted, Torx, what have you. But I wanted something that was more universal, that would fit any kind of 1/4 inch bit. So I found this one. You can get it with or without a bit set. So a few bucks more, I got the bit set, but it will accept, I think, any 1/4 inch bit in here. Only drawback is you can see this part's a bit kind of bulbous at the end, where you're not going to be able to fit it if the screw well is too narrow. But for most applications, this is going to work great. One thing I like about it is it has that kind of rubber knurling right here, and if you're working on something precision, you can kind of just do that, and you can put it in the palm of your hand, really torque it down if you want to. And one kind of interesting feature about this I haven't seen before is it has an included stubby. The included stubby also takes the 1/4 inch, but the stubby itself is what's ratcheting, not this part. So this is also ratcheting, so it's kind of a 2-in-1. And I believe this one was around $30 or $35, and that included the bits. I'll put links for all this stuff down below as well. And then from there, these ones, I got to give a shout out to kind of Tyler's Tools. I saw this one first on his channel, but this is what they call I always forget, it's either Tang-Thru or Through-tang, but basically it just has a striking cap here on the top, made of metal, that goes all the way through to where the bit is. It comes with this just number 2 Phillips bit. But the nice thing is, this is where they kind of solved the issue that I had with the electric one, which it will accept, any kind of bit. So this has the normal kind of Japanese bit in there, and that fits in, and there's no play. Or if I really want to, I can grab, like this is, for example, is a snap-on bit, and you can see, let's see if I can get that, it's just the normal kind of style 1/4 inch, and that fits in there, and very, very little play. And you can even put in, let's see if I have another one here in front of me. Here's another kind of just extension I can put that in and do that. So I did a video about this, and actually Tyler's Tools video is actually, I think, much better than mine, showing all the different kind of attachments you can do here. But what I ended up kind of doing is just taking the Klein Tools flip socket here, the metric kind, because that's the one I use the most often. So I have a bunch of metric sockets. I have my Phillips _2, and this one fits in here, quite well. And this one, there's no play whatsoever, and you're kind of good to go for something that's a non ratcheting. And then something I picked up just recently is, I don't know if this is new. It's actually probably just new to me because I know a lot of stuff's been out for a while, but a lot of stuff just started kind of popping up on my Amazon feed because of my purchases. So I take a look at it as they come along. And this appears to be, even the model numbers are similar. This is the 220W. This is the 230W. Other than the color, the only real difference is that this one is just plastic at the top, doesn't have a striking cap. So if you don't care about the striking cap, you can save yourself about $10, because I think this was about 22, 23. This is about 13. This does not come with any bits, but again, we'll accept any kind of bit that you're going to put in there. So again, great little option to have, especially if you pair this just with kind of an extension and a bit set. You can have every screwdriver that you need out there. Having shown all of those, is kind of an honorable mention because it's not vessel, but it is made in Japan, is this ANEX. And this is another kind of great one that is basically, I want to say one of my commenters told me about this guy, because I said, hey, wouldn't it be great if we had this in ratcheting? And boom, my commenter told me about this one. I was able to buy it on Amazon. And so this one gives you basically the same kind of, almost identical profile here. One main difference is that they kind of extend this knurling, the rubber knurling, down a little bit more. So if you have larger hands, it works really well to get down here. And I know that I saw on Last Best Tool with Doc, the new Klein kind of copies this design more than the vessel design, because they have it where your finger kind of sits here versus it normally kind of sitting down here, and you have to kind of bring it up to get to the knurling part. Again, depends on the size of your hands. But this one, again, you can take out the shank. This one comes with a double-sided Phillips and a slotted, and you could put in this. And I know I did a video about this, kind of my Frankenstein screwdriver, which this is, I kind of keep it in this configuration right here. This is more, I'm going to take this if I know I'm probably going to need more sockets than bits, and I'm probably going to grab this if I need more bits than sockets, or maybe grab both and have the best of both worlds. So, I've only really delved into Vessel on their screwdrivers, nothing else really. But, please leave in the comments down below if you guys use Vessel. If you do you use anything other than their screwdrivers? And if you have a screwdriver that I didn't show here in front of you that you think would be kind of useful, please leave it in the comments. I'll definitely check it out. And if it's something that is in my budget, I can go ahead and purchase and do a review on that. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe.